I don't have a problem with acknowledging that different countries have bad faith actors involved.
Totally.
I think the issue is when people make comments and they're looking for a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the part that's really frustrating. But yeah, this is what this dude posted. Now, remember, this is the guy that said that Zionists Jewified the Bible because they released a study Bible, Schofield Study Bible, which was from a dispensational angle, right? It says, from what I'm seeing at this point, it's way too early to pretend anyone has solved the JFK deletion in any concrete way, but we're definitely seeing enough in the documents to indicate that Israel was involved in some way. Right? In some way. Well, of course they were involved in some way. It's a strategic ally in the most unstable region in the world. Of course they were involved in some way. And that their efforts by the CIA over decades to cover that up, very interesting to see that. Which influencers, particularly on the right, are completely avoiding the fact or trying to pretend like that is not what the documents say. Watch closely. You can learn a lot about the information space by watching how people respond to this type of sensitive information. And again, I'm not of the belief that Israel was the primary player, and I'm not saying that we know for sure, because that's been the thing, right? Israel's behind 9/11, the dancing Israelis, Israel's behind JFK. Every bad thing that's ever happened somehow always goes back to the Jews within these circles, right? I'm just saying that sometimes silence speaks volumes, particularly when every American should be entirely dedicated to full disclosure of the facts. I mean, look, I don't understand what the facts are. The CIA is shady. They're spies.
Yeah. With a lot of power.
Yeah. And little oversight.
And they have to report to one person.
Right.
And they're experts at lying. So sometimes they lie to that one person. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that crazy? Let's go talk to the president. Should we tell him the truth about this, or should we lie like we do to literally everybody else we do?
For the sake of national security.
Yeah.
Not that deep. All that is not to mention that Israel has resumed bombing innocent civilians in a huge way this week. The modern state of Israel, particularly the deep state of Israel, is the elephant in the room right now in its many decades past time we talked about. Now, here's the thing. I think this idea about like the deep state, I think is interesting because I like Vivek Ramaswamy's definition of that, where he'll say the deep state is just like the bureaucratic state that's highly inefficient and kind of runs the show behind the scenes because they've just been there forever. In Israel, the issue people really have is with the far right in Israel and the alliances they've had to make, and the folks who are like very ethno-state.
Yes,
that's really who you're having issues with. It's not that there's this monolith there. It's that Bibi made strategic alliances with the most ultra-orthodox far right Israelis that are super ethno-state. And that is who is driving a lot of stuff. A lot of Israel's like, yo, we're really over this thing. Like, can we just get the hostages back? Right? And so someone replied, nice try, but conservatives are talking about Israeli intelligence, right? So people are saying they are talking about it. Real question is, why push this narrative now? Controlled opposition. So he's being called controlled opposition. The guy who was saying this very early on is now being called controlled opposition. Israel intelligence is mentioned twice, which you automatically deduce they're responsible. You're preaching to your our word audience, and then it shows the number of times the KGB was mentioned, Cuba was mentioned, so on and so forth.
Crazy.
And so he's kind of getting roasted by his own audience. And then check this out. He said innocent civilians, Palestinians always lie, and it's all the people that were eliminated. I don't know if they were eliminated within the last week or what, but it's just interesting how everything lately on the internet is turning into, and the Jews did it.
Yeah,
like it's so sad.
Yeah, it's getting played.
It's so sad.
Getting boring.
When is the next thing gonna come around? Right? When is the next thing gonna come around?
And it can't be the blacks. We already did that.
That's settled.
Yes.
Right. And so, right. And so now it's and who's it gonna be next after the Jews? Who's it gonna be next? Is it gonna be the Christians next? Are we gonna go back to the Catholics? Right.
I hope it's not the Irish.
The Irish.
It's the red beard. I don't think I'm that Irish at all. I got a red beard, and it's not going to be helpful.
Who's going to be on the chopping block next? That's the question. You know, because if you have so much vitriol towards this group of people who are complicated and have a very interesting history, someone else is going to be on the chopping block that you have to channel that energy to, right?
Who do you want it to be next?
Who do I want it to be? I don't want it to be anybody.
If someone has to take it, who are you choosing? Who are you putting forward as sacrifice?
Oh my God, what a terrible question.
This is where the brass tacks gets handled.
I want people to critically think and process information like grown-ups and not always look through the Marxist lens of oppressor and oppressed. And that's, I feel like
trans.
The Been there, done that.
Transformers.
I feel like, well, even that's connected to the Jews now. I feel like
because it's surgeons.
Well, no, because someone said that they came up with the whole thing and all that sort of stuff. I think this is what I think. If I had to simplify this entire thing, is because of the scriptures, which to me is actually just a testament that the scriptures are true. Because of the scriptures, because of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, a framing of financial literacy and success, and these things being true, and Jewish people holding to these principles throughout thousands of years, now you have them, which is a small population of the global world population, but because culturally, this is the difference between like head knowledge, tacit knowledge on an individual level, and like building culture. Because of culturally implementing God's ways for certain things, you always see Jewish people in positions of influence, success, and power. Whether that's Hollywood, whether that's law, whether that's whatever. And so people think it's a conspiracy and they've all joined together. It's like, no, you don't understand that like they couldn't do anything else. And so they went into these other industries, like entertainment, banking, law, and like crushed and dominated because of the principles that we see in Proverbs.
Come on.
Right? And that's a cultural dynamic that many who don't understand. Right? Shout out to Javier. He says, Jews don't pray for money, they pray for work. Better mindset, they have winning mindsets.
That's a bar.
So why do you see Jewish people always successful and always in positions of power? Again, it's a very much an oversimplification.
Don't pray for money, pray for work.
Yeah, pray for work. Pray for, well, what is work? Solving problems.
Come on.
Pray for work to solve problems, right? And
since when has interest been a solution?
Right. They own the most expensive parts of Brooklyn. That's the power of culture. And I think what happens is, especially in pockets of the right, is that folks don't understand a better story. They're just consumed with being outraged against something.
Yeah.
And if all you are is just outraged about everything, you actually never build culture. You just have outrage culture.
Come on.
And so you're just mad. You're mad about everything. Yeah. Instead of saying, hey, how do we make it? So here's a simple example. The dollar staying within your community.
That's a good one.
Right? So again, I don't want to use hypergeneralization, but like Jewish people have a way to maintain their dollar to stay within their own communities.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, if your dollar stays within your community, that means your community will always prosper. If you're always prioritizing doing business and commerce with people who are aligned towards your culture and your worldview, guess what? There'll always be a circulation of money within there.
I'm going to start that embroidery business.
And wait, what? No, that's like a practical sense. Like, I'm going to go to the Christian mechanic. I'm going to go to the Christian business owner. I'm going to go to people who share my values.
A buddy that starts a screen printing business.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to go to my buddy who has a silk screen business. So when you do that, you keep the dollar within the circulation of your own community versus you just spend money frivolously to pagans and people who don't care about you, your community, or your God.
Yuck.
And then you actually lose power that way, right? Yep. And again, these are all things that I just don't think folks care to understand. And so then when you see a group successful, you go, well, we're not successful like that. Therefore, they must be bad, and they must have a. It's like, no, you should look out for your own. Like, you should look out for your own. Yep. And so it's like, I think oftentimes Christians have a very toxic view about finances. They have a toxic view about success. They have a toxic view of business. And then they all wonder why we don't have the same circulation and resources and stability that other communities do. So when you don't understand that it's a cultural issue, then you look at successful cultures and you demonize and you blame them. And that's, I think in a nutshell, a very hypergeneralized, simplified version of, I think, why this is happening specifically with Israel. I have a massive update for you. I'm sure by this point, you've heard about the Blessed God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th here in beautiful Carlsbad, California. But we've heard your requests. We've conceded to your demand. There are virtual tickets that are now available for the Blessed God Summit, so you can access it from anywhere in the world, as well as access to the replays. And for those of you guys that are looking for something extra, we're also offering a virtual ticket and an exclusive Bless God Summit merch bundle. There's some amazing art and some exclusive pieces done by our friend Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil that you have to check out. So join us online for the virtual event and experience some sessions from my favorite podcasters, pastors, and performers. We have a stacked lineup. I'm talking about Preston Perry, Dr. Sean McDowell, Inspiring Philosophy. What do you mean? Lila Rose, Alan Parr, and his wife Jen Parr. We even have Nate Sala from Wise Disciple, Gavin Ortland, David Wood, Avery from God Logic Apologetics. And on the pastoral side, we have my friend Daniel Golding, Pastor Ed Newton from CBC in San Antonio, and my personal pastor from Rhythm Church, Pastor Jeff Moores and his wife Erin Moores. You won't want to miss out from amazing performances from America's Got Talent winner Dustin Savella, Billboard charting hip-hop artist John Keith, and Miles Minnick. And we're still finalizing a few more speakers. So head over to blessgod.shop, get your virtual ticket now, and you can get yourself a bundle with some of the exclusive merch as well. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.